Hi guys, it's Bunnymon and welcome to today's video and welcome to another WWE reaction. This video was actually recommended by Melcard Caranto and he said, can you react to wrestlers who peaked early by wrestling with regret? And yes, I can.
It's been proven time and again just how important patience is in professional wrestling. It can be hard for promoters to resist the urge to shoot someone straight to the top with no time to spare, but in many cases, playing the long game is key.
It's better. That actually brings me back to Jacob Fatu and how they introduced him into the bloodline and how they are taking their time to slowly but surely make him a bigger deal in the bloodline. At least that's what I think. But they are taking their time. They don't want to like put him on top immediately. Although he does deserve it.
Who's got time for that? We're wrestling fans. Gimme, 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 now, now, now. Certainly there are plenty of examples of talent getting a big push from the get-go. And while some end up on a path to legendary status, others are burdened with a premature career peak that can never quite be reached again. And this week, I'm gonna rank them, my top 8 picks for the biggest early bloomers in wrestling. Number 8, Paul White. Being the son of a legendary wrestler can be both a blessing and a curse. But if you think that's difficult, try being the fake son of a legendary wrestler. Paul White arrived on the shores of World Championship Wrestling in the summer of 1995 as the secret weapon of Taskmaster Kevin Sullivan and the Dungeon of Doom. But he wasn't just any big lug. This huge man was soon identified as the son of Andre. No, Andre the Giant was my father's name. I'm just the Giant. The DOD's big man was tasked with killing Hulkamania once and for all. And though we know now that, like the Grimace, nothing can kill Hulkamania, the Giant did put it on a temporary hold at that year's Halloween Havoc. After a monster truck sumo match, a regular wrestling match, and of course, a Yeti, the Giant wound up beating Hogan by disqualification, which, thanks to Jimmy Hart's nefarious contract tampering, meant that he was the new WCW champion at a ridiculous 23 years of age. Even though the title was later held up due to the controversy, winning the world title in your very first match is about as fast a track to the top as you can possibly get. Even Brock Lesnar wasn't that efficient. And less than a year after his debut, he would not only beat Ric Flair to win his second world title, he'd hold on to it for much longer. But Giant's youth and inexperience, combined with the political shark tank that was the WCW locker room, caused his run there to be full of ups and downs. By the time he left the company, he'd gone from an imposing, explosive monster to a largely ineffective, overweight, smoking giant. White jumped to the WWF in February of '99 with one of the most memorable debuts of all time. After a few weeks, White finally became The Big Show and spent most of the next 20 years under that moniker. Now, Show would go on to have a decorated career. He'd win some version of the world title 5 more times in WWE. I'd even go so far as to say that he outshined his fake dad in many respects. But for the most part, the significance or the wow factor of The Big Show paled in comparison to the Giant's initial splash in WCW. Throw in about 3 dozen face and heel turns over the decades, and the former son of Andre went from being a potential attraction for a new generation to just another guy who could be called upon as a credible replacement when plans went belly up. Number 7, Nikita Koloff. Or sometimes one-dimensional foreign heels can get over. Wrestling changed forever in the fall of 1983 when the Road Warriors made their debut on Georgia Championship Wrestling and almost immediately got over to a level previously uncharted. That success not only changed fans' perceptions, but promoters and bookers as well. And suddenly, big chiseled dudes who beat people up were totally in. Few people benefited from this trend in the 80s more than Nikita Koloff. Part of the famous Robbinsdale High School alumni that spawned a plethora of top stars, Scott Simpson was about to try out for the USFL when Road Warrior Animal suggested he give wrestling a try. Dusty Rhodes took one look at Simpson and immediately brought him in, then cast him as the chiseled, barbaric nephew of longtime villain Ivan Koloff. The Russian Bear, as he came to be known, was well protected in those early days, winning squash matches in quick fashion to avoid exposing any holes in his severely limited game. But Koloff was a quick learner, and his intimidating presence and impressive technique got him over with audiences in rapid fashion. Koloff's ascent to the top of JCP was swift and sudden, as he and Ivan beat Dusty Rhodes and Manny Fernandez for the NWA Tag Team titles. He even challenged Ric Flair for the World Championship. He was so well protected that the company used the free freebird rule when they defended the tag belts, which prevented him from taking a fall when the belts changed hands.
Oh my God, that's signed,
Nikita's Sputnik-like rocket ride peaked during his classic best-of-7 series with Magnum TA over the U.S. Championship, which Nikita ended up winning. The feud was seemingly engineered to free Magnum so he could challenge Ric Flair for the world title, but tragedy struck in October of 1986 when he suffered a career-ending injury in a car accident.
No.
The timing of the injury, along with the current real-world events that signaled the end of the Russian heel, forced the booker Dusty Rhodes to change his strategy. After having earned Magnum's respect in the best-of-7 series, Koloff stormed the ring that same month to help Dusty against the Four Horsemen to an amazing reaction.
Dusty!
While the initial turn was effective in the short term, he ended up losing momentum as a result, his weaknesses as a performer exposed when he had to sell as a babyface. Going off the gas and growing a flat top didn't help his presence either. In addition, walking away from wrestling temporarily to support his ailing wife, along with his rep as a Dusty guy, signaled the end of Nikita's peak.
So I guess like one of the reasons that things didn't go well for him is because he was so unlucky. World events, injuries, as well as family affairs or family stuff. So yeah, sometimes things don't align for you, unfortunately.
While Nikita returned for a full-time run that lasted around a year during the early 90s, it appeared his heart was never really in wrestling full-time again, and he quietly vanished from mainstream wrestling for good. Number 6, Tommy Rich. The phrase, too much too soon, may be a cliche, but cliches are often based on fact, and that phrase summed up Tommy Rich's career perfectly. You might recall Rich being covered in my Unlikely World Champions countdown a while back. At one point, the energetic youngster from Hendersonville, Tennessee was one of the most popular babyfaces in the country, a rising star of Georgia Championship Wrestling. In April of 1981, at 25 years old and only 4 years in the business, Rich did the unthinkable and beat Harley Race for the NWA World Championship, only to drop it back less than a week later, never getting close to the title or even the main event scene ever again on a national level. While there were rumors that Rich traded sexual favors with NWA power broker Jim Barnett to earn the opportunity, what had really happened was Barnett used Rich as a pawn in his power struggle with the rest of the GCW brass. Barnett won the battle as Rich's title victory helped to boost live gates, but it was Wildfire who ended up losing most of all. Throughout the 80s, Rich struggled in mid-level territories before returning to TBS as an enhancement talent. It was a steep fall for someone who was once one of the most popular baby faces in America, and proved that a quick title change can sometimes do more harm than good. Number 5, Barry Windam. Barry Windam showed a natural skill at a young age, breaking out in the Florida territory at 19 years old. He held enough promise he was actually on a few people's short lists of potential future world champions. But as was often the case in his career, Windam zigged when he should have zagged. Rather than follow his mentor Dusty Rhodes to Jim Crockett Promotions in '84, Barry joined his brother-in-law Mike Rotunda and went to the WWF as the U.S. Express. The two were soon positioned as the top babyface tandem, winning the tag titles and being the first ones to use Derringer's Real American theme before Hulk Hogan. But the good times didn't last long, as the insane travel schedule wore both men down and they abruptly quit the company in the late summer of '85. This allowed Barry to fulfill that previous potential in the NWA, and after some time spent in the mid-card, he truly reached his final form in 1988, turning heel, joining the Four Horsemen, and having a stellar run with the U.S. title. He was sinister, cocky, and miles away from the squeaky clean run that defined the first phase of his career. Windam's relationship with the company soon fell apart after the Turner purchase, and he made his way out of WCW soon after dropping the U.S. strap to Lex Luger. Windam jumped to the WWF, and while his presentation was pretty close to his NWA heel persona, he was known simply as the Widowmaker. But his run there ended before it truly began, due to legal trouble involving his father and brother Kendall. Windam returned to WCW in 1990, and although some success was earned, he was never able to reach the heights and momentum that many folks thought he would hit. Even his NWA World title win in 1993 was considered empty, because by that point the belt had been completely marginalized. Barry would wrestle on and off throughout the 90s after dealing with injuries. Though he has since been enshrined twice into the WWE Hall of Fame, once for his time on the Horsemen and then most recently for his U.S. Express run, his overall career still carries a tinge of what might have been. Number 4.
Hey, Chad.
When it comes to folks in wrestling who are set up for success early, they don't come much earlier than Saraya Bevis, a member of one of England's most prominent wrestling families. Growing up in the business and having her first matches at the age of 13, she soon gained a reputation for her natural ability in the ring. Along with her work between the bells, she also had a look that stood out from the plastic blondes that seemed to dominate the profession.
Yeah, true.
At 19 years of age, Saraya became one of WWE's youngest ever signees and changed her ring name to Paige, working her way through FCW as it transitioned into NXT. The so-called anti-diva turned heads right away. In fact, there was a story I heard around this time that the only reason Paige wasn't called up sooner than she was because of WWE's policy to not let anyone under the age of 21 on the road. Which is a pretty prudent one. Paige made history by becoming the first ever NXT Women's Champion. Then one day after WrestleMania 30, she debuted on Raw and upset Divas champion AJ Lee to briefly hold both titles. She spent much of the rest of the year both partnering and feuding with AJ over the butterfly belt, finally culminating in a match at WrestleMania 31, where the two teamed up to beat the Bella Twins. AJ's second to last match before she announced her retirement from wrestling. Paige would help usher in the women's revolution by leading Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch as Team PCB. That was a last-minute name change, as the group was originally called the Submission Sorority, but oops, looks like someone forgot to do a Google search first. By 2016, Paige's momentum had slowed significantly. Then to make matters worse, she took time off to nurse a neck injury. She failed the wellness policy twice during her time on the shelf, and whether the substances in question were prescribed or not depends on who you talk to. More controversy came about during her hiatus, including the leak of illicit videos of her with other wrestlers and public outbursts with her then-boyfriend Alberto Del Rio. Paige finally returned in the fall of 2017 alongside Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville to form Absolution, but her in-ring comeback was short-lived as she suffered another neck injury at a house show match. She spent the rest of her tenure in WWE as an authority figure and a manager before ultimately leaving in June of 2022.
God, she looks like
Since then, Saraya has made a comeback in the sport. Joining AEW soon after her WWE departure, she became medically cleared to compete again and even briefly held the AEW Women's title. And while it's been great to see her get another chance at in-ring action, one has to wonder how her career might have gone had injuries not gotten in the way. Number 3, Ahmed Johnson.
Like, as you can notice, a lot of these, like, the career stuff that happened to these wrestlers, either family situations, injuries, or problematic, like, drug users and stuff like that. It is so sad. Or, like, just being purely unlucky with timing and things not aligning for you.
For better, had injuries not gotten in the way. Number 3, Ahmed Johnson. For better or worse, when WWE decides to strap the rocket to somebody, they go all the way with it, unless an act of God or some kind of creative stupidity occurs. And in the case of Ahmed Johnson, they ended up checking both boxes. Ahmed was essentially shot out of a cannon in late '95, immediately joining up with Shawn Michaels' Survivor Series team and even getting off a rare slam on Yokozuna. The big man was presented as a force of nature in the company, his raw power and unique charisma wowing the crowds. But bad luck seemed to follow Ahmed during this run. He suffered a concussion after being el-kabonged by Jeff Jarrett at the '96 Royal Rumble, but recovered soon enough. At King of the Ring, he withstood Goldust's antics to become the first black Intercontinental Champion, and 1 month later fought in his first pay-per-view main event as he teamed with HBK and Sid to face Camp Cornette. But the snake bit Ahmed again one night later when a debuting Farouk Assad kicked him just a little too hard. The attack revealed a previously undiagnosed kidney ailment for Shootsies, putting Johnson on the shelf and completely halting his momentum. Fans were still behind Ahmed when he returned to the '97 Royal Rumble and eventually gained a measure of revenge against the Nation of Domination at Mania 13. But the Chicago Street Fight alongside LOD would be the final peak of his career. He would inexplicably turn heel and join the group he just feuded with, only to get hurt again right after. When he returned from injury, he was quickly betrayed by Farouk and kicked out of the Nation, making Ahmed look even dumber for having joined in the first place. But at least the group got Rocky Maivia out of the trade. Ahmed's run in the Federation petered out just before WrestleMania 14. He bowed out of the company to tend to his ailing sister and also to get out of a segment where the Truth Commission would have dragged him by his neck up the ramp. He had a cup of coffee in the dying days of WCW as Big T, but his career never bounced back to the heights he once reached, and we never got to hear any more of his classic promo stylings again. Number 2, the Von Erichs.
Oh my God. Oh my God. They're at number 2? I genuinely thought they're gonna be number one. Who's gonna be number one if they are number two? Oh my goodness. I don't know. I can like guess either like Benoit or Eddie. I don't know. Someone who was so unlucky, because the whole family was so unlucky in this situation. This was, honestly, I can say, like, I've never learned anything about WWE that is as tragic as this whole family affair and whole family story. Like, I also have like a reaction to the movie with Zac Efron on my Patreon if you're interested. I also checked the documentary about them. All of that is on my Patreon, not on YouTube. But yeah, it is really sad. This is like one of the saddest stories I've heard.
To burn out, then fade away. And who better exemplifies that statement than the famous and tragic wrestling family from Texas, the Von Erichs. David, Kevin, and Kerry were already rapidly picking up steam in their father's Dallas-based promotion, World Class Championship Wrestling. Their youthful vigor, combined with the TV show's energetic and then revolutionary editing, turned the company into a sizzling hot attraction that would land a TV deal with the burgeoning ESPN. David and Kerry were already pegged as future NWA World Champions. Then the family's legendary war with the fabulous Freebirds took things to a whole new level of excitement in 1983. But tragedy struck in February of '84 when David suddenly died of an acute intestinal ailment on a tour of Japan. The wrestling world gathered in Dallas as legions of the Von Erichs fans mourned, and Fritz capitalized by negotiating an NWA World title win for Kerry in Texas Stadium. But this proved to be the peak of Von Erich fever, as over the next few years, a litany of additional tragedies befell the family. Kerry began to slip further into a drug problem, leading to a motorcycle accident that ultimately resulted in the amputation of his foot, which the family kept secret until his death. Mike was
like
no luckier.
He literally went and performed in the company without telling anyone that his leg is amputated. He made it look like he has a second leg by putting like everything on and boots, and he would work on that through the pain. It is crazy. I can't believe, like, why did he not tell anyone? Why would you not trust anyone? He just didn't want to lose his chance and his opportunity, I guess, because then the company will find you as a reliability and would not like push you forward because they don't put their trust on someone who is injured. But also I feel like he would get so much compassion from people, at least in nowadays. Like, you would definitely get compassion and reasoning and understanding, and also like such an inspiration to be able to do something like that.
Struggled to fill David's shoes. He acquired toxic shock syndrome following surgery to repair a shoulder injury and suffered brain damage after a subsequent fever.
That's his brother.
After a drug test in April of '87, Mike committed suicide on the family ranch in Denton, Texas. The hits kept coming when Chris Von Erich, despondent over the fact he would never be a successful wrestler due to health issues, also took his life in 1991. And yes, it is messed up that he's not even in the Iron Claw. But the true end of the Von Erich dynasty came in February of '93. After a decent run in the WWF where he won the Intercontinental title, Kerry was released from the company when his drug issues resurfaced and, facing prison time, decided to join his brothers on the other side. Ultimately, Kevin became the last remaining brother, but the spirit of the Von Erich name continues to live on in wrestling.
Oh my god, in the movie itself it was so sad when he said, "I once was a brother, but not anymore." He literally lost every single brother he had, all four of them.
His sons, Marshall and Ross. And my pick for the number one continues to live on in wrestling through his sons, Marshall and Ross.
Marshall and Ross are his sons, and they are wrestlers as well. Who knows, maybe one day we will see them in WWE. But I'm so happy to see that someone, even though throughout all of these tragedies in his life, he just continued fighting forward and moving on and built his own family, trusted in his own family and believed in his own family, even though fact he did change the last name of his sons from Eric to the wife's last name, which I don't remember right now, because he was scared that it's a curse, the Eric curse that is from his grandma side, and he didn't want the same to happen to his own sons. I don't know if that's like a fun fact. Did I say fun fact? Like, I don't know if it's fun. Nothing about this is fun.
My pick for the number one early bloomer in professional wrestling is
who?
The Ultimate Warrior.
Oh yeah,
the Ultimate Warrior is truly wrestling's very own Rorschach.
I watched him
any
in
description you may wish to assign him. Was he a burnout, A phenom? An icon? A pariah? Yes. Certainly when Jim Hellwig entered the business in 1985, most would have assumed him to be the latest in a long line of big meaty men trying to capitalize on the wrestling craze. But no matter what you think of him, Hellwig possessed a guile, intelligence, and drive to succeed that most lacked. To him, failure simply was not an option.
Yep.
After spending time in world class as the Dingo Warrior, the Dingo caught fire and was soon noticed by the WWF, where he made his debut in the fall of '87. It took less than a year for the newly rechristened Ultimate Warrior to capture the second most important title in the company when he beat the Honky Tonk Man in seconds at SummerSlam '88. From then, the spaceship was fully loaded with the rocket fuel as he feuded with guys like Rick Rude and Andre the Giant, all while nipping at the heels of Hulk Hogan. In one of the classic matches of the era, Warrior shocked the world when he beat the Hulkster at WrestleMania 6 to win the WWF title. But what was meant as a passing of the torch was not to be, when he beat the Honky Tonk Man in seconds at SummerSlam '88. From then, the spaceship was fully loaded with the rocket fuel as he feuded with guys like Rick Rude and Andre the Giant, all while nipping at the heels of Hulk Hogan. In one of the classic matches of the era, Warrior shocked the world when he beat the Hulkster at WrestleMania 6 to win the WWF title. But what was meant as a passing of the torch was not to be, as many factors worked against UW's. Whether it was his lack of character depth, a lack of credible opponents he hadn't already fought, or overall fatigue from the general public, the Warrior fad faded. His future as the heir apparent was dashed, and the belt ultimately went back to Hogan. Things went from bad to worse in 1991. He held the company up for more money before his match at that year's SummerSlam, only for him to be suspended the moment he came back through the curtain. He returned after 8 months, but had thinned out so much, rumors swirled that the original Warrior had actually died and that Kerry Von Erich was his replacement. Look, there are enough conspiracy theories as it is in wrestling. This business does not need its own Paul is dead. His 1992 run was severely abridged as the company's steroid controversy forced them to focus on performers who looked less enhanced. Fast forward to his return in 1996, which I reviewed here as well. Taking place at the dawn of the Monday Night War, it reeked more of desperation than anything else, as WCW was encroaching on the WWF's market share. Simply put, Warrior no longer fit the company, as it had more or less moved on. Whatever magic had been conjured in the late 80s and early 90s had clearly fizzled out by the time Warrior accepted a WCW contract to return the favor and job to Hogan at Halloween Havoc '98. Hokey angles, long-winded promos, and an already limited ring style now made obsolete by a faster, more kinetic era made the Warrior seem like a totem from the past who could never live up to the lofty standards set a decade earlier. And that's why he's my pick for the biggest early bloomer in wrestling history. But who else do you think fits the bill? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up if you like it, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, hit that bell icon for all the notifications. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.
Sami Zayn, Brian Zane, do you think they are cousins? They're related somehow? Okay, let's check out the comments. Honorable mention, Vladimir Kozlov, who was pushed as a main eventer, holds a clean victory over The Undertaker. And he went against The Undertaker and then became a comedy jobber before leaving. Great Khali fits his description too. Every time Brian Zane talks about Halloween Havoc '95, I expect the pushing and pushing and pushing the truck back and forth every single time. I wish I understand that. Holy crap, Big Show was 23 there. Yeah, so young, right? I don't know if this is true. From what I heard, Saraya's mom was pregnant with her when she still wrestled. If it is true, then technically Saraya's first match was before she was born. Oh, Saraya's mom was a wrestler. I was really confused here. But yeah, like technically that would be her first wrestling match. So her debut was not at 14. It was like at -1. But that is it, guys, for this video. Let me know in the comment down below if you know anyone who was like completely like first put on the roster and pushed really quickly just to actually fail really quickly, because they say once you go high up real quick, you go down real quick as well. And that is like completely Like even factual, I would say at this point. I don't know a lot about wrestlers, especially from like the 80s and 90s. I have started watching wrestling a year ago and I'm still catching up and learning more about wrestlers. However, I would say one of the videos that I reacted to before this one was Finn Balor's story and him going from NXT to WWE, being pushed immediately to the championship just to lose it in 30 days. Or actually, was it 24 hours? Yeah, I think he lost it in 24 hours. He got it in 30 days and then he lost it in 24 hours. And then since then, he never actually caught a break in the main roster. In NXT, he would always prove himself as like really good and worthy. And then in the main roster, never. And now we're still waiting for his chance and his opportunity because he deserves it. But yeah, I feel like that's another thing. Like either bad booking, also the injuries, family affairs, as I said, like there's so much going on. And also just being completely unlucky with timing and lineups. But that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. And see you tomorrow with a brand new one. Bye!